Tonight's questions are relevant to all the candidates in a race and not just to a specific candidate. The candidate order on stage is going to be different from Tuesday night for the candidates. It was randomly drawn out of a hat, and we're randomly picking who answers first each question. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question, and then when there's 15 seconds left, I'll ring this bell, notifying the candidates, and when their 2 minutes is up, the microphone will be shut off, which I'm very good at, as we found out. And we'll move on to the next candidate. Again, I'd like to thank all the candidates for your professionalism, your thoughtfulness, and your openness the other night. I remind you that tonight your answers need to focus on the question asked, and please be respectful and remember that this is an opportunity for your community to get to know you. So talk about your experience and what you can do, not necessarily about other people. All right, so let's get started. First, we're going to introduce the candidates for the uncontested races. They'll each have 2 minutes to do an introduction and talk about themselves. But don't worry, we're going to do this again before the general election, so that's when they'll get their tough questions. So first, I'm going to invite up Naomi Elise, our county attorney, who's running unopposed. Can I just pick up that first one?
Right here? This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a question for me? Or
No,
just
just
want
your
to
introduction.
introduce
Yeah.
myself? Sorry. Okay. Well, I brought my notes and they're empty, so I just got here. I'm Naomi Elise. If you don't know me, I'm your county attorney. I'm from Trail Creek, lived there almost my whole life. Went to grade school in Trail Creek, graduated from Knoxon High School. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration. I went to Montana State University. I have a Juris Doctorate from Hamline University in St. Paul, Minnesota. Came back to Montana. I have 3 kids. I was elected in 2019. Before I was elected in 2019, I had a private practice for at least 18 years in Trail Creek and kind of did a little bit of everything. As county attorney, I am in charge of an office with 2 legal assistants. I now have a deputy county attorney in our office. We advertised for 3 years. Couldn't get anyone to apply. We've had someone for about 6 months. Her name's Cheryl Copperstone, and she handles mostly the justice court cases, which are misdemeanors. I handle most of the district court felony cases, the Title 45 cases. I handle all of the child abuse and neglect cases, which we have a substantial amount right now. And I also handle the involuntary mental commitment cases. And I also do a little bit of civil work with the commissioners and various political entities. If they have any kind of legal questions, I can answer their questions. I work with Nicole a lot. Just
15 seconds. 15 seconds.
Oh, my last note here is I do have an email it's Naomi Elise 4 countyattorney@gmail. If you have questions, email me. I will answer your questions. I just can't answer questions about active investigations. And I will have a question and answer later on in the summer. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to ask the Sanders County Justice of the Peace candidates, Carl Marquardt and Doug Dryden.
I'll go first. I won't need that.
Okay.
I won't need that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carl Marquardt. I'm one of the candidates for Justice of the Peace. A little bit about myself. I've been in Montana since 1994. First time in the state was in '78. I was in diapers, but I was was the first time I came to the state. 1996, I graduated from Thompson Falls High School. After graduation, shortly after graduation, I joined the United States Air Force. 21 years, I served in the Air Force. Last 9 years of my Air Force career, I was very spoiled. I got to come back here to Montana and be an Air Force recruiter. So I had a great career. I'm proud of my service. If anybody ever has questions about it, wants to have proof of my service, please let me know. I'm a proud veteran, like most all veterans are. Last 4 years of my Air Force career, I was in charge of the whole state of Montana for active duty Air Force recruiting. So I had a lot of windshield time. I do like the western part of Montana better than eastern Montana, but I'm just biased to western Montana. 2017, I was able to retire, and we moved back here to Sanders County with my wife and my 3 kids. Been married for 23 years. My wife is a Sanders County resident since birth. I'm very excited tonight when I get home. My 2 oldest ones back for college break for the summer, so I haven't seen my daughter since Christmas time. So it'll be cool when I get home. My other son, sophomore in Thompson Falls. When I retired, moved back here, 2018, I became a clerk in the Justice Court. As a clerk, we probably do 80-90% of what goes on in the courts. So I love serving, and I look forward to November. I hope I can get your vote and serve you guys as Justice of the Peace.
Hopefully this is on. Can you hear?
You just gotta hold it up to your.
Test, test, test. Does that work better? I'm Doug Dryden, and I am the Justice of the Peace for the county, and I've been that since 2017. Prior to becoming Justice of the Peace, I spent 26 years as a Montana law enforcement officer, and in that time I had about 1,600 hours of criminal justice training that I completed. But more importantly than that, I wrote cases into and testified in justice courts, district courts, and federal courts. And that experience of doing that for many, many years and testifying and helping prosecutors to prosecute cases, which I was fortunately able to do, allowed me to see what courts are and court procedure and what needs to be done in a court and what a judge needs to do. So that's helped me now as a judge as I look at cases and I look at the Montana criminal code that we have. I try to balance everything I do in sentencing people to look out for what does that person need, and more importantly, what can I do in a sentencing to be able to keep our communities safe. So that's kind of been the main thing that I look at as a judge, is trying to see in every case to be consistent, but to look at every single case looking at that person. Okay, and it's really important, I think, for a judge to do that. My wife Jolene and I have raised our 6 kids here. We've been in Montana for 37 years, and our kids are now, 3 of them are still here, and you all know how that goes in Montana. It's very hard for many of them to be able to stay here, but we have 3 kids who have great careers here. We have a daughter working as a professional for Boeing, and we have 2 sons that are serving in the military, an Air Force major who's been in 19 years, and a special operator that's been in 15 years. I'd appreciate your vote to continue as your Justice of the Peace. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have 2 candidates for Sanders County Coroner. Martin Spring is still in California, but I have Pat Barber here.
Hello, thank you for coming. My name is Pat Barber. I am your current Sanders County Coroner. Previously, before that, I was a Deputy Coroner with the Sheriff's Office for 2.5 years. Last fall, the Commissioners decided to separate the Coroner's Office from the Sheriff's Department and make the Coroner's Office a standalone entity and department. So since last fall, I've been running that and managing that and creating a professional organization from that. I bring to you over 30 years of a wide variety of experience that blends very well into the job of coroner. 20 years in the U.S. Coast Guard as a helicopter search and rescue hoist operator. I retired in late 2009, early 2010. Then I got into EMS, and I worked on helicopter-based ambulances, ground-based ambulances, worked in an emergency room of a hospital, and also worked in a cardiac center of that hospital as well. So all that experience really works well for managing people. I have 2 deputy coroners that are working for me, and medical experience I think is extremely important in this role as a coroner, and I have a lot of medical experience. Other things that are going on is when I took over the office, I made several goals. The top 3 goals was to increase professionalism throughout the office and through the deputy coroners. So to start that off, I created an operations and procedures manual and instruction and guidelines for the office. The next thing I wanted to do was increase working relationships with all the agencies that the coroner department works with. And I would love to spend more time talking to you about it. I know people have questions about the coroner, but remember this, I'm Pat Barber, your Sanders County Coroner. Thank you.
See, they're getting used to this. And next we have our candidates for Sanders County Clerk and Recorder, Treasurer, and Superintendent of Schools, Nicole Scribner and Katie French.
Hello. I am Nicole Scribner. I am the current Clerk and Recorder, Treasurer, Superintendent of Schools, and Election Administrator. That's right, everything. I also am your County Registrar, which means I'm in charge of all of your vital records. Also, election integrity. I look out, I see many of you as my trained election judges have been for many years. We are proud to say that Sanders County has some of the safest elections in the state of Montana, and the state of Montana has the safest elections in the nation. And that is a very big deal right now, especially if you're watching any of the news media. I took office back in 2013. I was appointed in September as Clerk and Recorder in 2013 and served that position until 2018 when the commissioners decided to combine the office of Clerk and Recorder, Treasurer, and Superintendent of Schools. Then I took over as Treasurer. We did a little remodel. My number 1 goal was customer service. I hate looking out in that hallway and see people standing in line, just waiting and waiting. Effectively, we were able to save the county $60,000, maybe a little bit more with inflation going through per year, having those offices combined. I couldn't do it without my amazing staff. They're godsends, they're amazing. And let's see, what else have I done? Tax collection, 2018 first half, we were at 76% collection at the end of November. This year, at the end of November, we were at 98% tax collection. My goal is to help people find resources to stay in their homes when they can't afford taxes. If you have any questions for me, stop in and visit. My name is Nicole Scribner. I appreciate your support and thank you for your vote.
Hi, I'm Katie French. Most of you know me. I've been in the community for the last 2 decades, actually in the Paradise community for the last 2 decades. I am running for this position because there are so many open new seats at the county, and I think this is a seat that really requires some new eyes, somebody else to start looking at some of the things and looking at them differently. I have been a project engineer. I'm an engineer by degree. I've been a project engineer on a number of extremely large projects throughout the Pacific Northwest. Project management in terms of running projects, but also running the office for the project. So I have a lot of experience in management. I agree that the staff down at the county is awesome staff, and I think that's good. They can carry over with some new direction, some new information, somebody else is looking under something differently. Let's see, what else do you want to know? Treasurer, I have done an awful lot of treasury work. as an engineer, we're running budgets. We're doing design, we're running budgets. So I've done that, but also I'm currently the treasurer for the Paradise Water Board and the treasurer for the Sanders County Fair Concession Group for over a dozen years. And that's, for those of you that don't know, it's about 20 different nonprofits that have come together as an entity to serve the fair for food concessions and other things. So a lot of experience there, and I think a lot of it will relay nicely into this position. So I'm going to stop before she dings me. Please vote for me, Katie French. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'm going to invite up the candidates for House of Representative District 13, Paul Fielder. And is Colleen here tonight? I don't believe she was going to make it. So, Paul Fielder.
Hello, I'm the current representative for House District 13. My name is Paul C. Fielder. I tell people the C stands for conservative or cheap. I was elected in 2020 and I served my first term in 2021. In the legislature, I was on the House Fish and Wildlife Committee, the Natural Resources Committee, and the Taxation Committee. One of the bills that I brought, that I'll bring again, was to eliminate state tax on your Social Security benefits. And that got pretty far, and we'll get it farther this time. My district basically starts in Weeksville and heads west to the Idaho border. Includes Thompson Falls, Trout Creek, Knoxon, Heron, and a couple of precincts up in Flathead County. I've been in the Sanders County, I'm the chairman of the Sanders County Republican Central Committee since 2015. I've also been elected to the Montana Republican Party Executive Board, which consists of 15 people. Also in the Montana Republican Party, I'm on the Rules Committee. So I've been pretty effective where I've been. In the legislature, I was able to sponsor 8 bills that got passed into law. One bill dealt with election integrity. I also want to point out that I've been an election judge, certified election judge, since 2015. I got involved in that because I want to make sure that Sanders County continues to have good election laws and good election process, and you can't do that unless you're involved. I've been endorsed by a number of organizations: American Conservative Union, American Family Foundation, Montana's for Limited Government, National Rifle Association, Montana Shooting Sports Association. And I ask you to just vote for somebody that's had proven leadership. You know, when we want representation, we don't want a rookie that's never been in the game before. Thank you.
This bell is from the ledger, so I'm going to start using this on my staff too. And next we have State Representative for District 14, Denley Logie and Randy Mitchell.
And you again are welcome to take a seat for the questions. Do you want to go first, Randy?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm Randy Mitchell. I was born in Great Falls, Montana. My wife and I live south of St. Regis. We plan on staying here forever. I was in the building business for 42 years. We built commercial hotels up and down the West Coast. I've got a tremendous amount of experience in project managing large construction projects up to $20 million. Hands-on, I've done every aspect of it. And through the course of that, you learn how to hammer out fact from fiction. And unfortunately, there's a lot of fiction in politics, and I'm not the guy that's going to buy into it. I'm a staunch conservative. I'm a big Second Amendment person. I'm a pro-life person. We've got 3 adult children in our family and 4 grandchildren. I've been a business owner since I was 18 years old. I've never worked for anybody. I ran my own businesses. When you run your own business, you pick up a skill set you don't get spending somebody else's money. You spend your own money. We all know how to do that. You've got to be careful how you spend it or you'll run out. Spending somebody else's money is real easy. And, you know, I just don't believe in going to Helena and being part of a group and being led which way to vote. I would promise you I would stand on my own foundation, which is a biblical foundation, and vote for you in House District 14. Not anybody that filters money to me through special interests. My wife and I are funding this campaign 100%. We've sent numerous checks back to people with special interests. I do not want to be beholden to them, unlike my opponent. We stand on a firm foundation. We'll make our decision from that foundation and analyze every bill. My wife is she's part of my team in doing all the investigations. She's a great investigator, looking for information and providing the information back to me to make those decisions. But I will not vote with anybody else. I'll vote.
Thank you, Randy. Your time is up.
Thank you.
And just to let everyone know, everybody has an opportunity. Randy has chosen not to answer the questions, but I believe he will be here afterward if you have specific questions for him. So, Denley, if you'd like to do your introduction.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Denley Logie, I live down in St. Regis. I'm running for re-election for the House of Representatives. I graduated from high school in 1968 at St. Regis. I worked construction in the area of St. Regis Lookout Pass, and then I started buying the family ranch in '86, and I had to find something that always kept me at home, so I went to work for the Montana Department of Transportation, plowed snow on Lookout Pass and various places. So my transportation background includes 45 years, and if you look around Sanders and Mineral County, I've probably paved or chip sealed all but about 20 miles of both counties. And that experience brought me into the to the House Transportation Committee. As a sophomore, I was given the job as being chairman of that committee, and actually I have more experience than the director of highways on Montana. So a lot of people come to me, and that's the knowledge that I can share at the legislature, and I do share at the legislature. The reason I ran for office in the first place, because we have so much disruption going on, people trying to create a little bit of a stir and not talking enough to get things done. And I'm one of those, I like to talk, but I talk to people and try to work out solutions. I had to work out solutions in my construction and in the days in the highway department, and I continue to do that. And if you don't talk to people and work out solutions, you won't get things done for the people. And I am the person, as you look back through the record, I get criticized sometimes, but I'm here for the people, all the people. And you can tell if you meet me in the store and want to talk about an issue, I'll talk about the issue. I won't avoid it. But I'm asking for your vote to send me back for my fourth term as House of Representative District 14. Thank you.
And now I'll ask you 3 questions, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer each question. So your first question is, if elected, what one piece of legislation would be your first priority?
Thank you. The first priority right now is one that I had started last session, and the governor vetoed it because it got hijacked by a couple senators and got a little bit greedy. But right now, we have electric cars that are coming into play. Electric cars get a free ride down the highway. They don't pay any road use tax. They don't pay anything to put their car on the road. So I had legislation set up to put a registration on that went directly into the gas tax fund, so they were paying their share. It was a reasonable amount that I put on it. Like I say, some senators hijacked it and set the price a little bit too high. They got greedy thinking this hadn't been done, so it would pass. Well, the governor vetoed it. But that's one I think, I'm one of these that people have to pay their fair share, and I've paid mine through the years. I live within my means, and I think the state can live within their means, making sure everyone is paying that share, but not exorbitant. We've got enough taxes. This is a fee just to even things out a little bit for those that aren't paying.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is, how will you stay connected with your constituents and describe how you will make yourself available to hear their concerns and comments?
Thank you. During the last sessions, I think you've maybe noticed, if you get the local paper, at least I put an article in there probably once every 3 weeks or so to try and keep people a little bit abreast. I do have a phone number and an email that I'm always available when I come home on weekends that I can. If you see me in the grocery store, sometimes it's an hour and a half to 2 hours for me to get through the grocery store. That's my availability. I'm the personal guy that's there, and I'm willing to talk to anybody about any question they have. I don't shy away from the votes I've made.
Thank you. And last question, what will be your strategy for working with legislators on both sides of the aisle?
Communication, that's the important part, and that's what we're not seeing in Washington. We aren't getting that communication. People are fighting, and they're not getting anything done. We're all disgusted with what's going on there. And I don't want to see that happen in Montana. It starts to a little bit, but as long as everybody keeps communicating and force the issue of communication. It doesn't mean you have to sell out on something. If you can discuss the issue, you can learn things on those issues, and you can bring people around to your side too by that discussion if you have some good talking points. And so open communication is the most important thing, I feel.
All right, thank you. You can go ahead and have a seat.
Thank you all.
And now I'm going to invite up to the stage here the Sanders County Sheriff candidates. And again, the order was chosen in random.
So just leave the microphones on, and if you'll pass them between the three at your table, please.
And we will start with introductions, and you'll each have 2 minutes. And Chris, if you'd like to go first.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see people that want to be informed. My name is Chris Dow. I'm a former active duty Marine Corps veteran. I've been in Sanders County nearly 7 years. Had property here a little bit longer, and my wife has been here in this area for about 20 years. We have 5 beautiful kids at home, and we've got a couple of new ones. One is 3, and she's in the back. You probably heard her a minute ago. Her name is Elizabeth, but the other one is Isabella Montana style, and she's 6 weeks old. I don't drink the spring water down the road anymore because I'm pretty sure that's what's going on there, but anyhow, I'm glad that they're here. As I mentioned, I'm a Marine veteran. I've got a vast knowledge of experience, or base of experience. I started out in the Marine Corps as an MP, and I worked my way up through a number of different agencies after that. And today, I still work in contract with the Department of Defense under U.S. Special Operations Command. We train a lot of our new and upcoming operators in various venues, and I'm very proud to be a part of that. So when it comes to shoot, move, and communicate and catching bad guys, I'm as good as the next guy, but I think that the sheriff role requires a much broader toolbox than that. I think we need to be the father of the kids that don't have fathers. We need to be the neighbor to the elderly that don't have family nearby. And I'm not so worried as much about writing a bunch of tickets every year, but more so being out there taking care of the bad things. And we do have bad things in this county. There's drugs, there's human trafficking, and I have a lot of resources and a lot of tools that we can use, personal resources, not necessarily professional, to make our deputies trained, educated to fight for our life, our liberty, and property, take care of our children and families. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Lanny Hensley. I'm the current undersheriff at Sanders County Sheriff's Office. I've been the undersheriff since 2012 when my predecessor retired. Before that, I was Wyoming State Trooper in Wyoming. I started off my career in Pinedale, Wyoming, which is very rural. Spent 3 years as a deputy there, 12 years as a state trooper, and then came to Montana. rural law enforcement is what my strength and my passion is. The community relationships is one of the goals that I have as elected sheriff, because without that bridge with the community and the communication with the community, it's just that much harder to do our jobs. My wife Tracy works in Thompson Falls. She's been in the financial business over there for a while. Got 2 children. One's a sophomore. The other one graduated last year, and he's serving in Germany in the U.S. Army. Some of the other goals I have, if elected, is to deal with the drug-related crime that we have by forming a task force within Sanders County made up of police departments, sheriff's deputies, because we know these communities, we know the people, we can know what the problems are and communicate that way. More in-house training for our deputies is another goal of mine, because if you don't have deputies that are well trained, they can't do their jobs well. The relationships with the public, more interactive dealings with them through a website. And so I appreciate your vote. Thanks.
I'm Mark French. I'm from here, couple miles down the road. I have the hometown advantage, home court advantage. I was a coach right there for years. Went to school here, played basketball here. My family's from here. My folks went to school here. Had my mom's funeral right here. I think what's most important about the sheriff's position is the heart. What your belief system is. Do you believe in the Constitution? Everyone has to swear an oath. Are you going to uphold that? I understand the Constitution, and I will uphold that if it kills me. I went to school here. I went to school in Plains. I went to school in Bozeman. I went to school in North Carolina. I talked my wife into coming back here with me. We went to went to Alaska for a while, and came back here. And actually, I'm living in a new house next to where I grew up. I know every valley, every creek, every ridge of this area, and I know a lot of the people, and I know the attitude, and I understand that. That is a huge part of building an accountability team. What is that? That's the people. It's not the sheriff's department. When the people are asking government to do everything for them, that's socialism. If you want to have a county that's Sanders County, that stays Sanders County, you have to participate. And what I want to facilitate that in what I'm calling an accountability team. This is old stuff. This is the militia of the Second Amendment. But it's not a war party that I want to put together. These are people that are going to be a sounding board for the sheriff, and we're going to do things in Sanders County, Sanders County way.
Your time is up.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Andy, for putting this on. I'm Roy Scott. I'm your candidate for sheriff. I was born in Brewster, Washington in 1970, and I moved here with my family in 1982. We were in and out of the area for many years. My dad traveled a lot for work until his health got bad. Worked many different trades. I was a welder, construction worker, apple picker, wind tower industry. I did a lot of different things, made a lot of great money, but I wasn't really happy until I came back home. This has always been home. Came back permanently with my family in 2014. I've been married to my current wife for almost 25 years, and she's put up with a lot of crap for me, and I really appreciate that. She's a great woman. I've worked for the Thompson Falls Police Department, Sanders County Sheriff's Office. I currently work for the Thompson Falls Police Department now. I've got just under 7 years experience. If elected, I'm going to sacrifice a heck of a lot more than what I'm going to gain. I'm going to get entitled. A little bit of extra money is what people are going to see, but the way I work, I'm a workhorse. I always have been. I'm probably going to make about $2 an hour. I'm going to be out there all the time. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for you, the taxpayers. Y'all have been dropped from way too long. If I get elected, I'm going to be a sheriff for the people, by the people, not from a politician, for politicians.
not backed from anybody except the people. I plan on working with the members of the Sheriff's Office, turning them back into a team again. Communicating, because we need communication. There's none. Accountability, there's none. We need to get that back. I want to see a bunch of deputies that are dedicated to the community again. I'm dedicated to my community. I always have been. I'll be available afterwards for any questions if anybody has any, and by phone.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Fielders. Retired after 27 years with the Sheriff's Office out of Lynn County, Oregon. So I got that out of the way. I'm from Oregon. My wife and I relocated out here because we absolutely love this area. We didn't choose it just because we found the right house. We enjoyed meeting the people in this community. We like to lay back, down home feel of this community. And so we decided to settle here. As I said before, wasn't born here, but this is where I'm going to die. In my 27 years as a deputy and sergeant with the Sheriff's Office, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of different things. I started out in the reserve program. I moved from there. Started up actually the Forest Patrol. I've done Marine Patrol. And when I was promoted to sergeant, my first assignment was taking over 3 contract cities. In that county, the larger cities that were just big enough to need a police department but couldn't afford a police department, would contract through the Sheriff's Office for extra deputies. And so I was put in charge of those 3 cities and all the deputies that worked in those cities and whatnot, which was a challenging beast because dealing with 3 different city councils, 3 different mayors, and 3 different cultures. It's amazing how just something can be 20 miles apart and have a different culture in the town. So that was my first real baptism, you might say, into management, and it was quite a learning experience. From there, I moved on into the main office of the Sheriff's Office as a senior patrol sergeant. And while there, I actually joined the SWAT team and became the, first off, I was a sniper team leader, and then I retired as a SWAT team commander. SWAT isn't all it's cracked up to be, by the way, especially as a commander, because I had a 40-man SWAT team, and that's like herding cats. You got 40 people with type A personalities, so it's a management nightmare. To sum it up, I have a vast amount of experience that I would like to bring back to Sanders County. Instead of just sitting up on my hill enjoying retirement, I think I've got a lot to offer the people of this county, and I'd like to pass that on.
Good evening, I'm Corey Wilden. I am currently a deputy sheriff here in Sanders County. I've been in law enforcement for 16 years. I started in Yellowstone County as a reserve deputy and then earned my position as a full-time deputy there. Did just about everything you can do over there. I was quite a few years, I was officer in charge of my shift. And over there we had 8 deputies working at one time. In the Marines, I was in Fast Company's Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team, and I got promoted in that unit very fast. And I was in charge of 55 guys' daily activities. A lot of that management experience at 18, 19 years old. It was weird how it actually worked very well in law enforcement when I got into it. And I'd like to bring that experience and knowledge here. Been a field training officer for many years. Basically, to try to simplify it, since I was 18 years old, I've been a leader, a mentor, and a trainer. And the best thing that I know is the folks around me are what make me as good as I am. And if there is weakness, you got to train them. And that's the ability that I have, is training and leading. So I hope you guys want to vote for me.
All right, and now we will get to our questions. The first question, Mr. French, you're going to start. The Sheriff's Office includes several departments. How will you balance the needs of each department?
Well, there's a budget, and we're going to stay within the budget. You know, you have the jail that has specific needs. You have the officers out on the road that have specific needs. You have a certain amount of money in your budget, and you sit down and work it out. I don't have those details. This kind of thing can be learned by anyone that has cognitive ability. What can't be learned really quickly is principle. Constitutional principles, biblical principles. Are you a team player? I love playing ball. I love playing basketball. And to get together as a team and get a job done is really satisfying. Am I not answering the question? I don't have the details of that. What I am is there's a balanced budget, and we're going to be conservative, and we're not going to be extravagant building new buildings and having a great big sheriff's department and all that kind of stuff. We're going to live within our means. I'm not about raising taxes. But I think I want to talk about my background as a medical person working with multiple people under stressful conditions, getting a job done all hours of the day and night. That's a valuable thing that that needs to be in the sheriff's department. I agree with these guys. There needs to be a team, and there needs to be accountability. There needs to be merit raises. There needs to be goals, and we need to get the job done. I'm walking up and down Knox and Trout Creek, especially that west end. People are really frustrated with the drugs, alcohol problems, theft. That's the problems in Sanders County. I don't see a bunch of human trafficking. What there is there's theft and drugs, and dealing with that as a team and wiping it out.
All right, thank you. Your time is up.
It's fun.
We're gonna go down and then come back. So you're rolling.
Okay.
So we'll follow the road and then come back.
Question again, Annie?
Yeah, sure. The sheriff's office includes several departments. How will you balance the needs of each department?
First thing, I think we need to sit down with the department heads and go from there. We have the jail, we have patrol, we need a patrol sergeant. That really balances out a lot of things. I don't really have a whole lot to add to that other than sit down, talk to the department heads, and go from there. I'm going to be new at it. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not something that's rocket science. It's not going to be hard to figure out. Thank you.
Well, I agree. Sitting down and talking with the department heads is key. With the budget that we have, it's obviously not extravagant, but each department head, in my experience, everybody has a wish list. So what you need to do is, first off, is everybody put their cards on the table. This is what you want, and this is what you need. You have to stay within that budget. So first off, we do is, what's priority in your department? What do we need? Let's make sure the needs of the office and the people are taken care of first. So that's the first thing you do in management is you have to get a job done. And then there's always the wants. Very seldom is there a whole lot of money left over once you get past the needs, but if there is, then we go into the wants. How do we want to, where do we want to go? Do we need new equipment or something new that's updated and that kind of thing? So that's where the wants come in. But that's done in each individual department, and we have to look at and stress that, first off, what do we need? Number one, to get by, to stay within the budget. And then we go into the new stuff. What can we get that will augment, this department, whether it be the patrol division or the corrections division or records and dispatch. Those are huge inside the sheriff's office. Most people don't see the dispatchers. Radio equipment, things like that, things that communicate between the deputies and the dispatch. So those are all things that there's wants. How can we maintain, and then how can we improve? So that's the stepping stones you take in order to balance these budgets and keep everybody in line.
I really can't add to that a whole lot besides it's just prioritizing is one of the biggest things. We got to prioritize those wants and needs. And in the end, it's the sheriff's say on how that all is going to play out. One of the other things we got to look at everyone's fuel to get here. That price is going up. That's something that's going to have to really be looked at and have priority over some other things.
So I've had the opportunity to manage a lot of budgets and coordinate within various different venues, teams. And I would say that's probably a specialty. So the first thing in terms of priorities is you have to look at the priority of the mission for the relative to the people. So our number one priority in the Sheriff's Department, according to Title 732, 2121 Montana Code Annotated, is to preserve the peace. So what we're going to do internally is target that mission. Second thing we need to do is determine what the priorities are within the department. So you create the top 5 priorities that everybody's involved with, and that's all of the department heads, because you're trying to build synergy within that team. And so everybody that walks out the door each day, each deputy, knows what their target's going to be. It's clear, concise, definitive, and there isn't any question about what you do. From that point, you start looking at what you need to do in terms of building the relationship within the community by serving their needs. And so all of those components are going to coagulate into what you're going to use as your list of priorities. And I don't think that there's much more to say than that, but that's one of the areas that I think that I have some specialty in. The other thing we need to do is look at creative means. I've written over $500,000 worth of grants. I've got a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security. I've got an associate's degree, and I've been an executive director of multiple different organizations, NGOs, international and national. I've served 5 continents and 13 countries in various roles in that capacity. So those skill sets should come into helping us determine what the priorities are and how to execute those. Thank you.
So the sheriff sets the tone and the vision for the agency. And the sheriff, in order to set the proper tone and the vision for the agency, needs to know what the needs of the community are, because all the needs have to be based around that. So if the sheriff knows what the needs of the community are, he can prioritize those within the sheriff's office and give the people the right tools to do their jobs efficiently, because most people don't get into law enforcement to make money. They get into it because they get satisfaction out of doing the job. So if you can give them the tools and the training to do that correctly, that's going to be meeting the needs of the people and the needs of the agency. And obviously it's all got to fit within a budget. But it's just pretty basic. It's all centered around the public. You know, we're here for you. And the sheriff's job is to determine what the public's priorities and pressing needs are, and then pass those along and make sure the officers, the dispatchers, detention officers have what they need to do that and carry that out.
The next question will start with Mr. Fielders. Tell us about a time you successfully led a team through a conflict.
Well, like I said, I was a SWAT team commander, so that list is quite long. But you know what? I think I'm going to leave the SWAT stuff out of there because I knew that team. We trained, but I think some of the other ones was some of the search and rescue that I managed. Because you get a team that you don't work with every day. But thankfully, they were some great people. And so when you have a large search and rescue operation, I remember one where a couple had wandered off from a campground. And it was a 2-day operation. And by the time it was done, we had helicopters. We had over 200 personnel on the ground from 3 different counties. And then your team dramatically expands. And then they're used to a different command structure and that kind of thing. So it was a very stressful situation. And when you get into day 2, the mountains get cold. They were up around Mount Washington, so even though it was in the summertime, you're down to the low 40s and in the high 30s at night. And these folks weren't prepared for that. So it's very stressful. You're trying to save lives. So I think in a management aspect, trying to gather in the heads of the other search and rescue operations from the different counties and whatnot, get everybody working together as a team and getting the job done. And I'm happy to say it was our county search and rescue explorer post that found the folks, which made me very, very proud. But that was quite an organizational nightmare. But that's one way is I got the experience of putting a team together. And even though there may be outside agencies or People you've never worked with together, professionals can get together very quickly, and they understand once you set up the leadership tone and the tone of what we're going to do, then they will step up to the plate. So that's one I'm very proud of that I remember a lot of.
Tell us about a time you successfully led a team through a conflict.
One of the first ones I did was, well, one of the biggest ones. My unit was the first ones on the ground when I was in the Marines when the embassy got blown up in Nairobi. And then with the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office, I ran multiple armed standoffs over there. And then, honestly, like Mr. Fielder's, one of my favorite ones, not my favorite, but one of the ones that came together the best, was a search for a 14-year-old girl that went missing in a big irrigation canal. I ended up with multiple resources that came out of nowhere. Both refineries in Billings sent workers over with boats to try to help us. I actually had Northwestern Energy sent 50 of their workers out to help us try to locate this poor girl's body that was trapped somewhere in that canal. After a 2-day search, I finally went to the water board meeting and ruffled a few feathers with some of their board members, but they turned down the flow of the water and we were able to recover her for her family.
I think I'm with Sean. I think we're probably a little older than most up here, but so the one that comes to mind within the list is an operation that we did over in Southeast Asia. I was actually the executive director of a foundation that did a lot of philanthropy down in the Southeast Asia villages. We put together coordinated with the U.S. Navy ship Mercy, and we put together a multi-million-dollar effort to basically go around to all of the villages or all of the islands within the Philippines and perform different means of surgery on the young children that were out there in the islands and the provinces. During that effort, we were coordinating with the Philippine Marine Corps for security because we were also doing some sustainability training down on the south border of Mindanao. And across the border is a large Muslim population who housed the Abu Sayyaf group, which is a terrorist group tied into Al-Qaeda and some others. But Abu Sayyaf had been gaining some ground. Long story short, we were down in that area. We were walking across a footbridge. We took some fire. One of the guys got hit, and the congressman, his name was Valencia at the time, we went back that day, and he says, we got to take care of this problem. We put together a team of Philippine Marines and some of the U.S. Marines that were serving with them. And the next day we went down after doing our planning, operational planning. And the next day we went down and we took out the cell of Abu Sayyaf. We came back and we reported back to the congressman. And we're saving lives of those kids that were being brought in from the southern border of Mindanao or from the northern border of the Christian villages into Mindanao. We saved a lot of lives for those kids. So thank you.
I've been in law enforcement for 27 years, and in that time I've had quite a few instances where I had conflict I had to deal with. Sometimes it was just with one or two other officers, but the one that comes to mind is the most recent, and that was a few years ago in Trout Creek. We had an individual who was shooting up the town, and I called in some reinforcements. We're cross-deputized with Bonner County, Idaho, by the way. I didn't know if you knew that. But they sent some deputies over to help. We weren't able to find the person. However, the next morning, we learned that he was at a structure armed with a rifle, and he was waiting for us. And so the first thing I did was we sealed off the perimeter so nobody could go in or out, get hurt, and he couldn't leave. And the sheriff was out of town, so I was kind of stuck with the whole thing. And I worked with our senior officers and our detectives, and sought input from them, and used their knowledge of the individuals that were involved in this, and we were able to call in some resources from Missoula, Kalispell, and they did their jobs the way we should, and I was able to be in the command post and make the decisions that we needed to make, and at the end of the day, everybody was okay. This was not the one where it resulted in an officer-involved shooting. This was a different one. This was before that. But everybody went home safe, including the suspect. Well, he didn't go home, but nobody got hurt. That was the biggest success I had, because the potential for somebody to get hurt with somebody who's armed with a rifle and doesn't think they have anything to lose is pretty high. So.
I thank you, Lanny, for bringing this back to Montana. All the war stories and stuff far, far away, those are fun to listen to. But I'll tell you, my son and I had an elk down about 4 hours in raining, sleeting, and we had a job to do. And the trail was slick. And we spent, it was 2 o'clock in the morning before we got this elk out. And we were cold and tired and going back in and get some more. Cold and tired and coming back and going back and get some more. That's what we're talking about. Diligence. There was an issue in. Does any of this panel know where Valley Creek is? There was somebody lost in Valley Creek. You got to go into another county to get to it. If you don't know Valley Creek, if you don't know the lay of the land, there's going to be quite the learning curve there. The accountability team is you. When we have somebody lost, when we have an issue going on, if the department has a relationship with the people and there's trust, there's nobody that's going to get away. Someone knows where they are. If the relationships are built with the sheriff's department, if the sheriff's department isn't out writing speeding tickets and seatbelt tickets and causing animosity with the people, if they are serving the people and taking care of the people and building the relationships across the fence at the dinner table with all the deputies, that you guys are the resources. When we have somebody lost, when somebody shoots themselves in the belly up here behind in McLaughlin Creek, we found them. We found them. It wasn't the department that found them. We did. This is Montana.
Thank you, Mr.
This is Sanders County.
Well, I've never led a team into a conflict, never had a conflict, but the team that I work with now with the Thomas Falls Police Department, when they need things, middle of the night, they don't want to bug the chief, they call me. That makes me feel good. That makes me feel that they trust me. We have a really tight-knit group there. Whenever I worked over in Washington State, I did work for a trucking company. We ran asphalt, chip seal all over the state, built roads, and our truck boss got hurt, and he got sent to the hospital, and I got called up because I was the next below him in seniority, and I took over for him, moving the equipment from one phase of the job to the next, keeping the guys in line, making sure that the material was moving, and we successfully completed that job and moved on to the next one. No conflict, just good hard work.
And our last question, we're going to start with Mr. Wielden. If someone gave the sheriff's office $1 million, what would be your first purchase?
Ferraris? No.
Retirement.
It needs to go back into the agency, and buy probably some radio equipment would probably eat up just about every dollar of that, but get us to where we have communications from one end of the county to the other uninterrupted.
Yeah, I think Corey's right on. The first thing I would do is upgrade our communication systems. It's minimal at best. In order to get things done in any organization, you have to have good communication. So communication, training and equipment for the deputies, and then continuing remedial training for the staffs. So all of the deputies and all of the staffs within the department are feeling the value that they deserve to feel. So those are the things that I would focus on.
If somebody walked in and gave $1 million to the sheriff's office, I can tell you after 10 years of being in there, the first purchase they're going to have to make is a big defibrillator for me. And all joking aside, you know, the radio is important, but our patrol vehicle fleet is almost to the point of critical sometimes. We piece together, you know, we try and make things work. We try and get as much as we can out of these vehicles, but Sanders County has got a lot of distance between point A and point B. And, you know, when there's 1 or 2 deputies working, it's not uncommon to put on 250 or 300 or more miles a shift. And when you talk about the lifetime of a vehicle, that starts adding up, and those things cycle out fast. And we always seem to be just kind of treading water on that. There was a couple of years where the budget, you know, was really thin, and it wasn't the commissioner's fault. That was just the economic picture in Sanders County. And so we made the decision to sacrifice a couple of patrol vehicle replacements a few years in a row in order not to have to lay off deputies. That was the balance that we had to work with. And so when you do that, you exacerbate and you prolong what you're having to work with out on the road. So I think my first purchase would be cycle everything with under 70,000 miles as a reserve rig and replace what we have.
I agree. Communication is an issue, especially on the West End. Pump a little bit of money into there. But the biggest issue is personnel. Well, every other word, what are you going to do about more presence on the West End? That's the issue. More presence on the West End. How are you going to do that? $1 million isn't going to do much as far as 1 more deputy or 2 more. I mean, say you put 3 more on. They're hardly even going to notice. You need 10. $1 million isn't going to do it. But there are people that want to participate. Some of you want to participate. But you're going to need equipment, maybe weapons, maybe clothing. Put the people to work that want to work. Now, when you hire somebody from Washington or whatever to come and serve on the sheriff's department, they're not from here. They're really not that dedicated. That's all. It's about money. But if you reserve deputy type, people that live here, that want to participate, that want to help, supply gear, so then they can. And $1 million would go away in a heartbeat doing that sort of thing. But put 20 guys. Are there 20 guys in Sanders County that want to help? You betcha there are. Guys like to get together as a team and solve a problem. Get the crime, the theft, and the drugs dealt with us, and budget that for that, so that they're not having to come up with the money.
$1 million isn't a lot of money, and I believe that here not too long ago they actually did some work on the radios, upgraded some stuff with the 911 budget because they had a little bit more money. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the sheriff's office since I left just about 2 years ago has upgraded their portables in the last 2 times since I left. We're always going to have a communication problem. I believe Lanny's correct about the vehicles. We do need vehicles out there, good, reliable vehicles. The miles get racked up way too quick. The communication problem is always going to be a problem. Deputies need to be aware of where they work, where they don't work. The ones in the vehicles work a heck of a lot more than the ones in the portable, or than the portables do. I do believe that they need to look into repeaters, portable repeaters in the vehicles that assist your portable whenever you're away from it to help boost the signal. I'm not a radio guy, but I think money could be spent on radios and equipment. or vehicles. Thank you.
We always said $1 million, it sounds like a lot, but a sheriff's office budget can eat that up in a heartbeat. And you have to remember, whatever you spend the money on, it can't be a recurring cost. The problem with, it's like a lot of grants, is, remember the years ago, we're going to put 100,000 new police officers on the street from the federal government. The hidden side of that is they'll give you the money to train a police officer and whatnot, but guess what? After a year, the money runs out, and you don't have the budget in order to maintain that police officer. So what you just did is you hired somebody, trained them, and then you got to let them go. So you take that $1 million, I think I'd go back to the, that staff meeting with the department heads. Because if I was God for the day, I can make those decisions, but each department's going to want a piece of that pie, and rightfully so. So there's going to be needs in dispatch, patrol, whether it be vehicles, communications, or whatnot. Obviously, those are things that I would definitely want to go after, mostly officer safety issues. But if $1 million is a one-time gig, you're going to get the most money or bang for your buck. So I think I would have my command staff help me make that decision in order so it benefits the entire office, not just what I might decide I think was really cool or what I'd like. So I think that's how I go about it.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much for your thoughts. How about another round of applause for our sheriff candidate? And now I'll invite up the commissioner candidates and give us just a couple minutes to get this in.
You can take it home if you want.
I didn't know if you were going to use it.
Okay.
I think this is me, right? Jokers. How are you?
I'm not sure if Don's here. Here. Oh, actually, John, you want to move down one where? It's Don. He comes we'll come on in.
I guess it's not serious. Oh, really?
So I would encourage you all to use the microphone, even if you think you're loud. It's good to use.
All right, and now on to our commissioner candidates. We're selecting 2 commissioners this year in District 1 and District 2. We will start with 2-minute introductions for each. And Daniel, if you'd like to start.
Thank you, Annie. I'm Daniel Moore. I'm running for District 1. I think that the reason that I decided to run was because I have capacity and interest and commitment to the community. Ever since we came to Sanders County, all we've done is look for ways to contribute and make a difference. We bought the Black Bear, we started restoring it, we started hiring folks. We currently employ between 25 and 30 people. We try to do things that improve the economy locally, look for ways to create living wage jobs, look for ways to create apartments that don't cost $1,000 a month. A popular comment is the best way to know what will happen in the future is to look what's happened in the past. I think it's the job of a commissioner to serve the people that put them in office. That basically means you need to understand what it is they folks want, what they need. You have to listen to them. You have to look for ways to respond to them. It's a service position. You're there to take care of the folks who put you in office. If you look at how I've spent my time since I've been in this county, every single thing that we've done, my wife and I, has been of service. It's not about what we plan to do, it's about what we do every day already. And I think that serving in the capacity of commissioner is just an extension of the things that we're already doing. It's an additional opportunity to look for a way to care for the folks in the county. Thank you. Daniel Moore, running for Commissioner 1.
Hi, I'm Adam Bage. I was born in Libby, but was raised in Plains and Sanders County for basically my entire life. I have 2 children, Rafe and Briggs, and both are 2 under 2. So they keep us on our toes. I have my wife right up there in the corner. And how I got to want to become the county commissioner here is because of my children and my experiences here in Sanders County. I've played sports actually in this gym, probably against Mark, I think. And I know a lot of what goes on around in this area, and it's very special to me. The core values that I learned and grew up with in this area. When my wife and I were working down south, one of the first things I told her when we were dating was, if you can handle being in Montana, then you can hang around. Because otherwise, this isn't going to work. Because this is where I'm going to live when I'm done. As soon as we got pregnant, we were less than 4 months, and we were back up here in Montana. We worked hard and ended up getting a business, and we own State Farm, and we have a ranch here. So if we have business, we have skin in the game. We want to make sure that this is the best place for our kids and everyone else's kids around here. We want to do what's best for the community, the people. We want to be an advocate for the people here in Sanders County. I have a lot of experience in budgets. That's what I did down south, scheduling and managing. My name's Adam Bage, and I hope that I can earn your guys' vote for county commissioner.
Hi everybody, I'm Dan Rowan. I think I'll do things a little differently than I usually do at these events. I think by this time, you guys all know me. I don't need to tell you stories of where my mom was born and her growing up in the Depression and all this kind of stuff. That is important. She was, I guess I'll break where I was going, and she was raised during the Depression. Times were hard. She instilled some of those values of fiscal responsibility into me, and I've carried that over into my public service. Somebody told me after the Thompson Falls event, I bombed. Dan, you bombed. You need to make a speech and memorize it. I made something up. And I looked at it, and the more I read it, and I practiced with the 2-minute timer, and it sounded monotone. It wasn't me. That's not me. If slick talking speeches made good political leaders and politicians, America would be the best place now. It is the best place in the world. But we wouldn't have any problems across the country. Political speeches and sitting up here and telling you all the things you want to hear are not going to make a good leader. I want to tell you why I think I am a good candidate. I could say this without running Adam or Daniel down. I think it's because of experience. I am, as a fact, the only elected public official on this stage right now, other than Johnny, that has worked in the school board or on the school board and rural fire. That went by in a hurry. I've ran public budgets. I've managed them. I think I understand probably more than anybody what the time constraints are for this job. It never
Thank you,
ends.
Mr. Oro, your time's up.
I'm Randy Arnold. I actually am one that grew up here and played ball in this building and went to school right next door and graduated from Plains High School. I've got a lot of background in different types of construction, septic systems. I attended the University of Minnesota and was certified to do that kind of work. I've worked road construction, paving, and I've been a supervisor on doing that so that I do understand how to run a crew, run people, not run them, but get them to work together and everything. So anyway, I appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Is it on? Okay, I'm Malin Lee from Hot Springs, running for District 2, and I was not raised here. I did not go to school. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, Somerset County, and when I was 21, I moved west up to Eureka. And since then, I was on a dairy farm when we lived in Pennsylvania. I sold that, and when I moved to Eureka, Montana, I started doing construction. I've been doing construction for about, I think it's 15 years, and then I went to commercial roofing. And that's coatings. We don't do metal or shingles or that type of things. And in my team of contractors of the roofing business that we do, there's about 354 people in my team of contractors that I'm on the phone, helping them bidding roofs and that type of thing. So I do a lot of things of helping people out and helping them do their bids, sign the contract and that kind of type of thing. So now I want to serve you. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's John Holland. I run for Sanders County Commissioner, District 2. Born in Hot Springs, raised in Plains, graduated from Plains School. Like some of these guys tonight, played basketball in Paradise. The old Plains Colts come down and play the Paradise Bombers, so brings back a lot of memories. After I graduated, I went to work at Sawmill. It shut down in a year, so I went to Zumbo Tech, heavy equipment operation. Spent the next 10 years working heavy highway construction. And then I was fortunate to get on as a temporary snowplow driver. And it turned into a permanent job for 30 years. And I retired from the state of Montana as a section foreman. I'm involved with Plains High School School Board, Plains School Board. I've been on there 18 years. Monday night's going to be my last meeting, and so I'm hoping to start a new career with that. And I've been on the fire department for 26 years. Started as fireman, retired as the chief. On the Plains Paradise Rural Trustee Board, and I've been on that for 26 years. And many of those years I was secretary treasurer, making the budget and making sure it was implemented and turned in. And like why I've been on the boards with the school board and the fire board, I plan the budgets or help plan the budgets and implement them. I currently have a cattle ranch in Plains, and I'd like to be your commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Our first question, we're going to start with Mr. Bates. What traits do you possess that make you a good public servant?
The traits that I think that I have to make a good public servant are, I generally care about the people here in Sanders County. You know, they're my people, I grew up knowing a lot of the faces I see out here in the audience. So I'm a good listener. I'm a team player. I want to do what's best for the county, and you know, and I'm not. I don't. Yeah. So I think those are the traits that I have, and I just want to make sure that I'm an advocate, and I'm here listening for everyone here in the county, and I'm going to represent everyone in the county, not just one side or the other.
If I could say in a word, I think it's commitment. Demonstrated commitment. Again, not campaign speeches. I have a record. You can look at it. I encourage you to examine it closely. Balanced budgets, infrastructure commitment in the town of Plains, 4 years of hard, in my 5th year now, of hard work. The time constraints on a public official, I think, are not known until you've done it. I think Denley touched on when you go to the grocery store, when you go pump gas, when you go to get eggs, whatever it is. People want to talk to you, and they expect to talk to you. They don't care that you're not in the office. I've stood at the grocery store talking for 2 hours. People want to know about potholes in the road, or what I affectionately call speed control devices. So it's a full-time job. You're never off the clock. I've demonstrated that I've done it by my record. Again, I'm not sitting here promising anything. I'm telling you to look what I've already done. Judge me on that.
I think being a very honest person is a great trait for the commissioner, and being able to listen to the citizens of the county and work for them and do what they want, as opposed to, I mean, I don't have an agenda. My agenda would be what you people want. And I think that's the best thing about it.
Well, I don't like to talk about myself. But I think listening is a very key thing. And if you have, I think of a circumstance that happened on a roofing job, if you listen and not talk, you can come up with a plan, how to help the situation. So there was 2 contractors, one bid at the job, and then after he was doing the job, the other guy didn't help as much as he thought he should. So he was going to go up in the price, and then the other guy didn't do a good job. So now what do? So I listened to it, and then one guy said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I said, think it out. If you do that, what's going to happen? If you approach it that way, you know what's going to happen if you do that. So I brought him back to the first agreement that they had as a contract. I said, that's your basis that you have to build on. So I think listening and listen to what another person wants, it's not always, we won't all get our way, but there's always a middle way, a middle grounds that we can go to and both be happy. We don't have to go apart, being enemies, we can be friends.
The question is, what traits do you possess that make you a good public servant?
Well, I think I've kind of proved myself as public servant with the fire department, being the chief, school board, Department of Transportation, keeping the roads safe. And I've pretty much made a commitment to that for my life. And I guess I'll continue that idea. Keep doing it for the people of the county.
Hi, I'm Don DT. I'm sorry I'm late. I had to pick up my son in Bozeman. We had to wait for him to get checked out and stuff by an RA. So I'm used to serving my own family. For instance, I take care of my kids all the time, and that's pretty much what my life's about. I get up, make my mom coffee. She's 89 years old now. I make her toast. I go take care of the cows. I take care of the kids. It's what I do. So I'm always thinking about what other people need, basically. I don't know what I do for myself, but why I'm running is for the kids and for our community. I want to keep it the way it is as long as we can. Stuff's changing really fast, and I just wanted to be a part of this to see if I could help in any way, because it seems like stuff's getting scary really fast, and like even the beef market, I had to start selling beef locally just to keep beef going, just to keep my bills paid and stuff. So I mean, I can see what's coming down, and it seems like it's getting worse and worse, and I just wanted to be able to help people. So thank you.
County is a big machine. It has lots of moving parts. The idea that a commissioner has the ability to provide direction for all those parts is a little bit of a fallacy. The reality is that you function as a facilitator, someone who sets a vision, someone who understands how to match talent, ability, and passion with the needs. The thing that I do that I think is truly effective is I look for ways to identify folks who thrive in their areas, look for ways to encourage and support them and grow them to achieve their own success. The reality is whatever happens in the county doesn't change because you elect a new commissioner. The jobs are the same, the responsibilities are the same, the government responsibilities are the same. How we get better is by empowering the folks who are already in their key roles and looking for ways to develop and grow them. I can talk about managing large staffs and multi-million-dollar budgets and all those things because I have tremendous experience in all those areas. But what I would say is the thing that I do the best is identify and develop talent. And I think if we can look for ways to grow the folks who are already there, make them better at the jobs they already have, support them where they're struggling, then that's the best possible outcome. And I think that's something I do really well.
And Dawn, just to let you know, you have 2 minutes to answer the question. I'll ring this fancy bell when you have 15 seconds left.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, our next question, we're going to start with Mr. Arnold. What specifically would you do to promote economic growth in Sanders County?
That's a tough one. Because I've struggled with this. There's, because basically what we have is natural resources and agriculture in this county. So we have timber, but with the Forest Service and the issues with it, it's really a tough issue. So, boy, I'll pass this on.
Well, Randy was right. It would be, if we could put up sawmills and sell timber, that would be a great asset. That's what the West is about. But I want to check into that and see if we can't open it up where we can do more. But if that doesn't happen, then I would encourage people to start small businesses all over the valley. You can buy small timber. Maybe you can buy truckloads from wherever they're out of. And you start a sawmill, you can start many different things. But what I would want to do is, what are you interested in doing? What is your skills? Is it being a butcher shop, having a butcher shop? If it's that, then I want to encourage you to do that. Is it a sawmill? Then I want to try to help you get to that. Because I think that with many minds, with many people thinking, we can come up with ideas of what we can do as a community. Because we do want to keep our children here, so we don't have to move away. So That's what I think I would do.
I gotta agree that it's kind of a tough question for us. You know, we have jobs, not a lot of jobs here, but we don't have some place for the people who live. And that might be one of the hardest things we need to maybe get more builders in here. We need, seems like you need a carpenter, you can't find one, they're busy. We need more trades, you know, the electricians, plumbers. We encourage people to come here for those trades. We don't want our county to change like some counties, but it is going to change whether we like it or not. We've seen it all change. All of us have seen it change over the last 10 years, probably 15 years, and some for the good and some for the bad. So I'd be willing to help promote anything that we could keep our kids and our families here in Sanders County without them having to leave the area. So if anybody has good ideas, bring to us and see what we can do. Try to help get it going. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with all these guys, and the butcher shop idea is a good idea because you have to schedule the butcher, or the butcher I use, like a year in advance, so there's obviously need for that. But there's sawmills popping up quite a few places already, and as long as we get working on that before it all burns, that would be a good idea. Like a good job in Sanders County is like $20 an hour. So the growth that's coming in is outpacing what the locals can pay to stay here. That's the biggest problem. These kids got to pay, you know, $1,200 a month rent to stay here. So how are we going to keep them here? How are they going to have jobs that's good enough to stay here? We have to figure out how to get this medium. Like I said at one of our other meetings, you know, like 20 years ago, we went up to Kalispell when all the land was going for back taxes. People were learning about that. It might have been 30 years ago. But we went into that courthouse, and there was a book that thick on places that were up for back taxes. And that could happen here. I mean, if the prices keep going up, we got to pay those taxes. So that's a concern too. So we all got to have jobs, and we all got to have a way to stay here. And I agree with these guys. I'd like to see my grandkids grow up here. I want my kids around me, so we got to do the best we can. We all need to work together. So, thank
you. I have 2 sons and a daughter-in-law and a couple of grandkids that live here in Sanders County. I think the single most important thing related to economic development is figuring out a way to ensure the financial ability of our young people to be successful here. The only thing that we have to lean into in Sanders County is our natural resources. The timber was shut down hard in the 90s, and that really had a huge impact on the economic viability of the county. Right now, there are efforts to get mines open, which will create living wage jobs. What's happened is folks have come in with plenty of money from other places. They've bought up land. They've driven up the costs. And like some of these other gentlemen have mentioned, it's made it out of reach for the folks who are working blue collar, and frankly, that's most of us. The reality is we need more trade schools. The Thompson Falls High School is building a new shop right now with the idea of getting carpentry and automotive and things like that going again. That's perfect. Those are creating the types of living wage jobs that can cause enough money for someone to afford to live here. I run 3 construction crews. Those folks are making living wage jobs, but I also run a bunch of food service businesses, and those people aren't making living wage jobs. And the only way that we're going to go from being anything more than a tourist destination or a place to go fishing or hunting is to create more light industry, mining, logging, things like that. All of those things within reach if we are willing to lean in and commit ourselves to creating those opportunities for our young folks. Those are who we need to be driving economic stimulus for, not anybody else. Get those young people earning a decent wage.
The question is, what specifically would you do to promote economic growth in Sanders County?
Well, first of all, I would look at it like it was a business, and I would bring out the SWOT, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. What do we have here in Sanders County that's a strength? And like a lot of these guys said, it's the land around us. We have a beautiful river that we can capitalize on. We have mountains, hiking. We have outdoor stuff that we can look at and possibly get jobs that way. Logging, I know firsthand as a family, as a third generation logger, that hit a lot of us hard. Things like that. We have to think outside the box to try to utilize the strengths that we have. The weaknesses, it's the people and the people leaving the area because there's no jobs available. And that's really hard, and our opportunities are, once again, the land and the area around here. And then the threats, once again, jobs, money, and just really opportunities. And that's what I would do, is I would look at it as a business and hit it from all those angles.
If this was an easy question, we'd be running over with jobs in Sanders County right now. Carol would have worked on it and got it figured out. It's not easy. I think the biggest thing we can do as county commissioners is make sure that we don't inhibit in any way economic development. The truth is there's limited things that the county commissioners can do to encourage economic development. We can be ambassadors. We can go lobby at the state. We can encourage the legislatures in the state of Montana to pass on tax incentives that might be helpful in Sanders County. The resource-based economy that we had when I was a young guy, logging, I hate to say it, and some of you might disagree, we're not going to log our way back into economic prosperity in Sanders County. We're just not. Take a ride up Thompson River. My brother and I used to cut up Thompson River many, many years ago. It's thumped. You're not going to go back and re-log that. You can thin, you can have fuel reduction, and I think all that's important. But let's not kid ourselves. It's easy to say that up here, yes, we're going to log. The mining, I know Rock Creek has been talked about for, it has to be 30 years or more. I was in a meeting where the head of HECLA was at not too long ago, and he says they've given up on the permit that they were pursuing, and because of litigation, are pursuing another permit. And he said, in the best case scenario, 5 to 6 years if everything goes right. I'm here to tell you, everything won't go right. Don't hang your hat on Rock Creek coming open immediately. That sounds a little negative. I'm going to be an ambassador for Sanders County and try to work with our state legislatures and hopefully our elected representative at the federal level to help us out.
And our last question, we're going to start with Mr. Holland. Have you ever been to a commissioner meeting, and if elected, how would you manage public comments and public participation in meetings?
Yes, I have been to commissioners' meetings. Not a lot, but over the years I've gone. I was in there yesterday, so I've been to them. Public comment, I think people have a chance to speak, and we should listen. That's what we're being hired for, is to listen, try to solve things. If it gets out of hand, I guess you're going to have to try to shut it down. I've had that with the school board where meetings get out of hand, and you'd have to say, because it doesn't sound right for an adult, but you have to scold the person. And, you know, you're an adult, act like an adult. We're all here to try to solve a problem, and sometimes you have to, you don't get mean, but you have to be firm. And I guess that answers your question, maybe.
I haven't been to one of the meetings, but I think that in order to know what's going on, you have to speak to people. If you're not talking to a wide range of people, if you're only talking to one group that you're accustomed to and that you're comfortable with, then you're not learning anything. And if you're not talking to everybody, then some people aren't getting all of the information. So, I mean, I don't know everything, so of course I would need to speak with people and want people in the meeting so we know what people think. I mean, there's no way of getting the information without the people, I think, so that's where I'm at with it.
Yes, I've been to a number of the commissioners' meetings, and frankly, I'm not happy with the way the meetings are managed. I believe that the calendar is set up to accommodate the commissioners. They're not set up to accommodate the people. I think that the meetings should go into the evening so the folks who work for a living can actually show up and say what they think. I think that the comments should be made before the vote, not afterwards. It's very often that the commissioners will put something on the agenda and they will make their motions and make their votes and then open it up for comment. And the reality is if you're here to serve the people, you need to be open for business when the people are available, and you need to be willing to hear what they have to say before you pull the trigger, because the reality is you're supposed to be representing them, and if you haven't heard them before you make your vote, you haven't done your job. With regard to unruly folks are unruly for one reason only, and that is because they don't think they're being heard. If you get to what it is exactly they're upset about, they'll settle down. It's never about whacking them on the head or telling them to shut up. It's about trying to figure out what it is exactly they're upset about, because no matter what it is, it's real for them. So, for me, make the meetings into the evenings. Make the comments available before you take a vote. Take advantage of technology. Somebody in Hot Springs has a hard time getting to the courthouse. Why aren't we having a Zoom meeting so it's open so somebody who's sitting in Hot Springs can still be part of the meeting, have an opportunity to speak up and be heard? And there you have it.
I actually have quite a bit of experience chairing meetings, and how I always set up my meetings was we had last week's meeting minutes, we discussed those, and then went on to the new agenda and the new meeting minutes that we were going to explain or talk about, and then we'd have the floor open. I know that it's different. I have been a part of the county commissioners meetings myself. I've attended those, and people do get upset during these meetings. And with my meetings, I would handle them with, talk to them and be like, we need to treat this like a business and treat people with respect and civility. And if they can't, then we would have to have another conversation. And if they couldn't cool down, then they'd have to leave, obviously. But it's important to keep to the meeting schedule so that everything can be, all the business can be handled. And if it gets out of control, people are not sticking to the schedule and they're not acting civil during the meetings, then it has to be addressed. So that's my
Yes, I've been to the commissioners' meetings. I've also chaired over 4 years of public meetings, and I'm going to stand here and tell you, you better have thick skin. Because I don't care what it is. If you make a decision on it, there are going to be people that disagree with you. Get used to it as a politician, any one of us that's elected, get used to it. That's the way it'll be. But you do try to get as much consensus as you can. And to Daniel's point, he's exactly right. According to the Montana Constitution, the public has a right to know and a right to participate. If you can't comment on agenda items before they're voted on, not after, what chance have you had to participate in that, to know and to participate in that before they vote? Obviously, to know is for them to put public notices out with the meeting requirements of Montana public notice law. I said before, I'll say it again here, many of you guys know that Paradise Sewer District has been a contentious issue. They published an intent to levy in the legal section of the Sanders County Ledger. I said, where are you holding your meetings at? What are you talking, where are you noticing your meetings? What do you mean? And I said, you have to notice the public meetings. People haven't had a chance to participate and comment. And I'm well aware of open meeting laws. I've chaired the meetings. I've dealt with unruly crowds. Again, experience. Dan Rowan, appreciate your vote.
I have to agree with what was said about the public meeting, having them and actually listening to the people and having them comment so that you can make the best choice and an informed decision for a vote. And you should be listening to the people of the county before you make any decisions, not afterwards. And I guess that's just how I think it should be done.
Yes, I have been at the commissioner meetings, and how do you deal with people? That was your question, right?
The question is, if elected, how would you manage public comments and public participation in the meeting?
I would definitely ask the question before I vote. Because here's the way I look at it. You guys are the one with the voice. I'm just a servant doing what you want to do. But I also understand there's always two sides to every board. So if you can value people, it doesn't matter on which side they are, if you can value each other, then you can come to agreement. And it's like one of these guys said, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, you put value to it. And if somebody is upset, but he or she hears that you are listening and you value their opinion and them as a person, that will go a long way. I've been to many meetings where it might become a shouting match, but let's be adults, not kids. When I was growing up, I was never allowed to talk back to my dad or my mom. And if we can come to a meeting with that same attitude and respect each other, then the meeting will go great. Thank you.
All right, thank you again, gentlemen, for your openness. This has been a really fun week for me. The candidates will be hanging out afterward if you have specific questions for them. Thank you so much to the Paradise Center for hosting this, and everyone have a great night and drive safe. Thanks.
How about a round of applause for Annie?